Yes, welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone is well. It's a North London derby weekend, which people are saying, is this the biggest North London derby in Premier League history? And the big question I want to ask all of you and get your thoughts and opinions in is it bigger for Tottenham or is it bigger for Arsenal? I'll ask you that in a few minutes, Terry, but how's things? Very interesting week of football.
Yeah, it was. It was an amazing week of football. Champions League threw up so many shocks for the right reasons. One massive, I wouldn't call it a shock because we know these scumbags exist. One obviously horrendous situation, but some amazing, Bodo Glimt slapping into Milan, Newcastle scoring. Have you seen the stat about Anthony Gordon?
Yeah, more Champions League goals than Haaland.
Yeah, I mean that's not the one though. He's got 10 Champions League goals this season. He's only 2 goals away from being 3 goals away from being the highest goal-scoring Premier League player in a single Champions League season ever. And he's actually had, I don't know why, his Champions League goals have just gone under the radar until these 4, and suddenly he's on 10. But yes, some amazing games. Club Brugge, Atletico Madrid, amazing. And it's funny because I was working with Goldbridge on Tuesday, and he said that he's not looking forward to the midweek Champions League games. They're all rubbish. I didn't watch all of them, but the 4 or 5 I watched were absolutely amazing. And then Arsenal dropping points. My predictions on this title race have been about as close to perfect as they could be, which is great. Not because I want to be right, that'd be weird, but because I want a close title race in terms of the conversation. Although, what is with football fans? They're all a bit. There's too many weak football fans nowadays. Their team loses and they disappear for a week, or they drop points and it's like, where you guys gone? Come back. You know what I mean? Remember when Rose? Jack, come back, Jack. So it's like, where you guys gone? We love a conversation, but you also have to have conversations when you're not winning as well. Come on, guys. And that ain't just Arsenal. That's United fans, Chelsea fans, Liverpool fans. Come back, Jack. Come back.
This North London derby, right? Because that's probably the best place to start because it is the big game.
The only place to start.
But the question that I've asked everyone so far, and I want to ask you, is it bigger for Spurs or is it bigger for Arsenal? Because obviously we are down in the dumps. And if the results go against us and West Ham beat Bournemouth, which I'd argue right now, Bournemouth are in a decent bit of form, but so are West Ham. So West Ham could beat Bournemouth. We would be only 2 points above the relegation zone. We'd be level on points with Forest. And if Forest won comfortably yesterday against Fenerbahce, I know they're playing Liverpool, but it is at the City ground. We could end up in a situation where we're 17th come Sunday and 2 points of the relegation zone. So is it bigger for Arsenal because of the fact that City play first and the likelihood is, no disrespect to Newcastle United fans, but I think they will win that game. So who do you think is bigger for out of us and Arsenal?
So we are, mate. So we are. It's going to sound like I'm sitting on the fence, but I'm not. I don't think it's an either or either. It's both. I think it's equally as big for the two of you. It is gargantuan. A win for either of you is seismic. A defeat is hugely problematic. There is no differentiating for me. You could argue it's bigger for Tottenham because if you get dragged into the relegation battle and you go down, that will have a much bigger impact on your club over a 3 to 4 year period than it will Arsenal not winning the league, because Arsenal could quite easily replace Arteta for a better manager and they'd carry on competing most likely. But aside from that, I think it's equally as big for the two of you. You both have to win. Arsenal, I think it's about because they still have an advantage and it is still in their hands. Although people are City's, well, they can both beat each other when they play each other at the Etihad. So it's still in Arsenal's hands, but they need to keep it that way. So they have to win. I also feel what the Arsenal supporters need is they need a good win. Well, we were the better team and we won by 2 goals and they need to, the players need to sort of brush the cobwebs of the last 2 games away. For you guys, I've said it for 2 or 3 weeks, all jest now aside, I feel if you get pulled within a point or 2 of the relegation drop zone and you're almost there, I think it will be like a scene from Interstellar. You get too close to the gravitational pull of the black hole, you lot are getting sucked in. You're not built for relegation battles. I think there is the potential for the appointment of Edgar Tudor to be one of the worst managerial appointments in the history of Premier League football clubs. The potential. He might do a really good job, and we're all sitting there going, bloody hell, didn't see that come in. Fair play to your decision makers. But I don't think it's about differentiating. The mainstream media will do it. Some shitty content creators will do it, and they'll try and make out like one is bigger and better than the other. For me, no, not bigger and better than the other. More important. I think it's equally as important. This is two teams that absolutely have to win this weekend, because I feel that you can spark the team back. Both of you can spark your team back into life from this point. A defeat for either of you could be curtains in terms of title races and or staying in the Premier League. So, and it's also the other side of it. You got to think about the bragging rights. You could beat Arsenal and put a huge dent in their title hopes whilst probably saving yourselves. Because I think if you can just win your first couple of games under Tudor, I think you're going to be okay. Equally for Arsenal, they could spark their title race back into complete life whilst also dragging you into the relegation fight of your lives. What a game. There's so many side stories, ramifications. I can't wait for it. I wish it was a 12:30 game tomorrow. I want it done straight away. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to wait till Sunday afternoon. It's going to be amazing. And my full support is with Arsenal. Sorry, Dad.
There's a lot more pressure on them, obviously. For us, a lot of our fans looking at it from a free hit perspective. If we don't get a positive result against them, going straight against Fulham away, Palace, and then Liverpool away, that is a really difficult run of fixtures for us. Then we've got Forest, who've got a new manager. Sunderland have only lost one game at home this season, which was against Liverpool, and then Brighton are free-falling as well. So there's a lot of big games in there for us. But in terms of Arsenal, what do you kind of make of the online presence of a lot of fans and creators saying it's done already? They are still 5 points clear. There is no guarantee that City beat Newcastle, but you would kind of say the momentum at this moment in time is with City. But what do you kind of make of the reaction after that draw against Wolves?
I understand PTSD from fans. We're here again. It's going to happen again. It's City hunting us down. I understand the confidence of Man City fans because as a United supporter that remembers being so, I saw a tweet today from someone saying, Fergie's lucky that Pep wasn't around. The man's won 6 league titles in 7 years. It's actually, yeah. From when he won his first league title to when he won his last title, because they're taking out his first season and they're taking out last season. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what Fergie did in the first 7 years of the Premier League as well, you moron. Like the records are identical. It's what always makes me laugh a little bit where I'm sitting there like, I think they're identical in that. But that being said, is it over? No. The problem that you have is the online world right now is very polarized. So when Arsenal win, the Arteta haters, Arsenal's detractors disappear, and they most certainly don't want to have an honest conversation. When Arsenal drop points or they lose, a lot of their kind of positive fans, right through to the ultra weird positive guys, they disappear. And again, then nobody remaining wants to have an honest conversation. Nothing's changed for me, really, because for me, I've always said this is going to be a narrow race that goes right down to the end of the season. Now, did I predict Arsenal dropping points against Wolves? No. Did I predict City being 2-0 up against Tottenham and dropping points? No. So shocks happen. I didn't think Man United would beat City. I really didn't, and we did. Thought we might get a draw. I didn't think Man United would beat Arsenal, but we did. But in terms of the overarching feel that the title race was going to be close, was going to go down to the wire, this is where I think that in the Arsenal fan base, the inners and the outers have just got this season wrong. Every setback is disaster, sack the manager, and they've been saying that all year. Every time there's a good win, it's we're going to cakewalk the league from the inners, and I feel like they've both just been talking absolute nonsense in that regard. No balance, and it's the lack of balance that then stops the conversations when things go really well or things go really bad. Like in terms of an individual game, nothing much has changed for me because I don't believe, based on this season, that either of those teams are going to go and win their last 11 games, 12 games in a row. I think it's very plausible that City drop points in at least 3 or 4 of their next 12 games. I think it's plausible Arsenal could drop points in 3 or 4 of their next 11 or 12 games. The big deciding factor is going to be I think what might decide this league title is when they play each other in April. But my point is this: Newcastle might get slapped by City this weekend, but would anybody this particular season go, "Oh my God, what a shock! Newcastle just got a 2-2 draw at the Etihad"? No one's going to sit there and go, "That's crazy." Equally, if Arsenal slap Spurs 3-0, that's not a mad result. So the reason I say that is if those things aren't crazy, if that's quite conceivable in a lot of people's minds, it wouldn't be looked at as an absolute shocker. Then I don't see how the league title race can be over. I don't see how they've gone from being the clear favourites in a lot of people's minds before the Wolves game to no way they're winning it now. That's too much of an exaggerated jump. If you never believed they'd win it, I understand why you'd now say, yeah, now I think it's done. But they're not the people melting down online. The people melting down are the ones who are talking about cakewalks and winning it easy. Oh, we should be so far clear. Yeah, if you disrespect the quality of the other teams in the league. Yes, if you don't look at the fact that you're in a really hard league this year where there's loads of difficult teams to beat. I know that's quite a long answer, but I think it's important. I think the TikTok world, I know me and you post on TikTok, but that's just snippets of what we do. I think the TikTok world, I think we live in a very reductionist society at the moment where everybody wants things to be easily explained in 30 seconds to a minute and digestible within a minute and go, right, that's the scenario. I don't feel much has changed this week. Bad result for Arsenal, must be criticised. They are crumbling a bit at the moment. But at the same time, do I think they're going to lose 5-6 of their next 11 games? No. Do I think City are going to win all their games? No. This is going to go down to the last 2 or 3 matches of the season, maybe even the final day of the season. So, yeah, I'm not in the title race, so I don't feel it like a City fan. I don't feel it like an Arsenal fan. But I feel the meltdown this week has been hugely over the top. I'm a firm believer, Henry, that what we say and do online, what fans do in the stadium, gets into our dressing rooms. So from that perspective, from that point of view, I feel that some Arsenal fans have got to grow up a little bit here, develop a thicker skin. And then the outers, listen, you're entitled to not want him at your club. But I think asking for your manager to be sacked now, when you're still top of the league by 5 points, in a Carabao Cup final, you've been the best team in the Champions League. I think putting out, I kind of get it in the moment on a watch along because you're very emotional. But 2 or 3 days later, doing huge streams or huge TikTok posts or, huge posts on your socials about he has to go now, I don't think that does anything to stabilize your dressing room. And the irony is with the outers, they can disagree with me all they want, but if they feel that their high standards can influence it, these will be the same guys that will say my high standards are what got us over the line. If that logic's true, too much negativity, too much aggression at the wrong times towards a nervous team could also stop you from winning. And that obviously you want to win. So yeah, I think it's been a bit crazy and over the top to round up. Quite a long answer, but I feel quite passionately about it. It's been too much.
Yeah, it's almost like they've conceded the title, isn't it? I mean, like you said, they're still in the League Cup final. As you can see, they've got Mansfield in the FA Cup, which is a favourable draw. They've beaten Atletico Madrid this season in the Champions League. They've beaten Bayern Munich in the Champions League. They're the only team to win 8 out of 8. Between the 22nd of Feb and the 22nd of March, they are going to have the next round of the Champions League in there, which will be the last 16, which I think is Dortmund or Juventus they can get? One of the two, something like that. And they've got Brighton, who are free-falling right now. But the next 2 games, if there are 2 teams that want to spoil their potential trophy parade, it is us and Chelsea, let's be honest. They're their 2 biggest rivals. Do you see a world in which Arsenal don't win both of these games? Because I know the Arsenal-Chelsea game is at the Emirates, but do you see a world in which
it's
are they fatigued? Are they running out of steam? Or do you just
maybe they are? Listen, I think anything is possible. And that's why I think it's what you'll see from a lot of people that don't like Arsenal is they'll crash it on them. Like they'll say, they're crumbling, they're bottlers. Do you think they'll lose the next couple of games? I don't know, bruv. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like nobody's got any chest. But they don't just want to have an honest conversation. I don't mind if somebody's on the fence, because I'm on the fence with it. They could win both these games very well, very comfortably. They could lose them both. It is really in the balance right now because you can see the vulnerability in them. I feel that that's clear. Interestingly, they've been a bit vulnerable in the league all of 2026, but they haven't been vulnerable in the Champions League, in the FA Cup, or in the League Cup. Completely different team. And although as fans, we sometimes just look at it as one, they're just games. I remember Man United when we were a title challenging team. I remember when we were in multiple trophies, and I remember we had a bad run once in the league where I think we drew 2 games in a bounce. We lost 2 games in a row. And the next game was a Champions League game. And I remember Ryan Giggs saying that we're looking forward to the Champions League game because it's a distraction away from the league form. And we went and we won the Champions League game 3-0. And we looked really comfortable, really at ease. The following weekend, we were actually really struggling. And I want to say it was against Tottenham because I think we'd lost to Liverpool and I want to say Fulham back to back. We won the Champions League game, I believe. And then we played Tottenham and we were 2-0 down at half time at Old Trafford. And we came back to beat you 5-2. But it was what I found was really interesting is that we were very nervy in those 3 Premier League games, but there was a Champions League game kind of in the middle of it where we looked absolutely fine and normal. So my point when I say this is that people can crush it on Arsenal if they want. They can defend Arsenal if they want. The cold, hard fact of the matter is that it isn't over yet. So much could happen. Previewing the Chelsea game today is pointless because how Arsenal do against Liverpool is going to change everybody's minds anyway. Sorry, Spurs. If Arsenal go out there and steamroll you, people will believe they'll beat Chelsea. Spurs beat them 2-0. They're going to lose to Chelsea. But football doesn't always work like that. A lot of people are now predicting Arsenal's demise, but that's not always how football works. Sometimes that actually relieves pressure from a team. If everybody writes them off and they go, the pressure's gone now. And this is where, again, I say to rival fans, if you want to really stick it on Arsenal, maybe keep the pressure on them. Yeah, sometimes I think the banter's wrong as well. If you're I'm only bantering to put more pressure on. Well, if your banter is that it's over and it's done and it's finished, and they're the biggest bottle jobs ever, where's the additional criticism coming from? That might relieve them of the pressure because they've already had the stick. They've already had the banter. They've already been slammed as bottlers. Pressure's gone now. Sometimes you're better off holding it back a little bit if you think that type of behavior actually impacts the team. But yeah, look, they could definitely lose the next 2 games, but they could win them. And I don't know how it's going to go. But that's why I'm not writing off the season or saying they're definitely going to win it still, because I don't know. They are still the marginal favourites, but it's just this weekend, if they draw and City win, City become the favourites. But again, it's marginal. And I wouldn't be surprised, Henry, if between now and the end of the season, it changes 2 or 3 times with people. You know, it's so close. It's been close all year. This idea that anybody was going to run away with it. I always thought, even when I thought Liverpool were going to have a good season, I didn't think it would be won by January, won by February. I always felt it'd go very, very late. But right now, my gut about this game, I'm going 2-2. I think it's going to be, I was going to go with a draw. Right now, I just feel draw because I feel it can go either way. I'm predicting a draw. That's kind of where my mind's at with it.
Yeah, I think a draw. I think that's probably a safe bet. I wouldn't be at all surprised if it finishes like that. I want to speak about Aston Villa quickly. These are their next 8 or 9 games.
Ooh.
Obviously, 2 comfortable fixtures against Leeds and Wolves. And the fact that if results go for them this weekend, they could be within 5 points of Arsenal. Is there a situation where we could see a Leicester City happening here?
No. I don't mean to be disrespectful to Villa. I can't personally see it. I feel...
They've got a lot of... Other than United and Chelsea, though, like, they should be winning most of those games. Yeah,
but they won't because they're just not good enough. I know they went on an 8-game winning streak earlier on this season. They won't repeat that again. I think if you look at their... I'm going to get it up on my screen so I can see it, but just the Premier League because it brings it to life a little bit more. If you look at their... if I just get... Because I know you can put their fixture on the screen, but it'll mix all their games together. If you look at the Premier League, since they won that 8 on the bounce, okay, which is very, very good, their record has been loss, win, draw, loss, win, loss, draw, win. They've won in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, they've won 3 of them, lost 3 of them, drawn 2 of them. I think that will be Villa for the rest of the season. Maybe 2 in a row and then a couple of draws.
Less games, haven't they? They're not in the FA Cup like Arsenal and
yeah, I understand that, but I don't think they'll win the league. I just don't see it. I think there's a good chance they make the top 4, top 5, but if I look at their next 5 fixtures, I think they beat Leeds. I think they draw with Wolves. I think they lose at home to Chelsea. I think Man United beat them. I think they beat West Ham. So in the next 5 games, I think they're going to pick up 6, 7, 6. I think they'll pick up 6, 7. They're going to pick up 7 points in their next 5 games. And I think Arsenal and City in the next 5 games will pick up over 10 each. And then they won't catch them.
Do you know United are third favourites to win the Premier League?
Yeah, at like 100 to 1 or something.
Who are your next 5 or 6
Well, no,
games?
something mad about the odds, though. I was looking at Bet Victor yesterday. Villa are like 50 to 1 to win the league or something with them. Spurs are 5 to 1 to go down.
Don't. So you've got Everton on Monday night, which Everton at home aren't great. They've got a good away form, Everton, but they're not great at home. And you play Palace, who I don't know if you saw last night. They away in not Estonia. I don't know where it was. They were away somewhere, and their fans were going ballistic at Brendan Johnson. I'm just so glad he's not our player anymore.
So if I look at our next 5 games, I think we beat Everton. I think we beat Palace. I think we lose away to Newcastle. I think we beat Villa at home. And I think we draw away at Bournemouth. So I think United are going to pick up 10 points in our next 15.
And then you got Leeds, which is a massive game. And
Leeds at home, we win. They won't beat us. And then I think we lose away to Chelsea. So if I look at all those fixtures on the screen, I see two absolute. We might beat Chelsea and Newcastle, but I don't think we rarely win at those grounds, especially Newcastle. So I don't think we will. But I think we win all of the home games that you see on the screen, and I think we win away at Everton. So that's four wins, two defeats, and a draw. I think in the next 7 games for United.
Yeah, I mean, I think you will continue this good run of Carrick. I want to speak on Liverpool. Big game for them this weekend. And then in terms of them, they're 6th in the Premier League right now. They've got Forest away, which, listen, I have a feeling Forest will win that game. I don't know about you, but when I look at where they are in the league table right now, Forest away with a new manager coming off the back of a 3-0 win against Fenerbahce, I see a world where Forest cause an upset. If results go, if Chelsea beat Burnley, which at the Bridge is very likely, and you get a positive result against Everton, which again is very likely, and results go against them, we could see a situation where Arnie, I mean, do you think if he loses to Forest, he goes?
No, I don't think he gets sacked for the rest of the season as long as they remain in the Champions League and FA Cup. So that's keeping his season alive, is being in those competitions, and they are still in the hunt for the Champions League. The one thing is I don't think they're going to bring in a new permanent manager now. Just sometimes the problem you have is you don't always get a new manager bounce. And if, for instance, they're 6th now, a couple of points away from a Champions League spot, and they bring a new guy in, it doesn't click straight away. Maybe Alonso comes in and goes, right, we're putting in my system, and that makes them go a little bit backwards before they go forward. They might miss out on the Champions League spots, and they might then go out the cup competitions. I think they're just going to stick with what they've got for the rest of the season. When would he get sacked? So, for instance, in a month's time, if they're sitting 7th, 8 points off the top 4, 9 points off the top 4, knocked out the Champions League and out of the FA Cup, then I think he might go before the end of the season. But whilst he's still in with a chance of winning trophies, Liverpool will keep him. Liverpool are a little bit like Arsenal in the sense that they don't really sack managers, if that makes sense. They're not big sackers of managers.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at these games, Wolves away in the FA Cup, favourable tie. Wolves away in the Premier League, albeit Wolves done very good against the bigger clubs. West Ham and Forest. That should be 9 points in the next 3 for Liverpool. It should be. Then they play us, which we never ever win at Anfield. I can't remember I don't think we've won at Anfield in over 10 years. They play Brighton away, who are struggling, and then they play Fulham at home, and Fulham away aren't great. So on paper here, Liverpool should be winning. Look, I don't think they'll win all of their games there, but they should be winning at least 6 games there for me. But I just don't think they will, because they're a little bit up and down. Well,
if I was to predict their games now, and again, just like I said about the Arsenal Chelsea game, this might all change with wins or defeats. But looking at that now and just giving an honest view, I think they draw with Forest, beat West Ham, beat Wolves in the league game and the FA Cup game. They beat Tottenham. They lose at Brighton, draw with Fulham.
So what's that? You said 1 point against Forest, beat West Ham, so that's 4.
So
Beat
it's
Wolves, that's
3
7.
wins is 9. Four wins is 12.
Plus the draw,
and
13.
a draw. So 13 points there, I'll give them.
Which would put them in a very, very good position. And then the interesting club, and I don't know if you've spoken about them a lot recently, when you look at their fixtures, is Chelsea's. Because after this Burnley game, they have got one hell of a run coming their way. I don't know if you've actually seen their fixtures.
Oh, it's crazy.
This
week, this weekend, I feel like Chelsea this week, look, every game is must win, if you're going to use the cliche. But they cannot slip up against Burnley because, as you say, Arsenal, Villa,
I don't think they'll beat Wrexham, by the way.
You don't?
No, someone who went to the missus' school, Jules Dobson, who she went to school from like primary and then secondary school, who lives in the same area as me, plays for Wrexham, and he's their vice captain.
Who she went to school with? Just a friend, yeah?
Yeah, just a friend, yeah. Yeah, he's actually like in the other room. No, I'm joking. But I think Wrexham have something for Chelsea in that cup game. Away, I just got a feeling. But other than that, mate, that Burnley game, Arsenal, Villa, Newcastle, Everton, and City. I mean, Rafinha has done very well.
It's a run, man. It's a crazy run, which is why the Leeds draw. How far long ago was the Leeds draw? That's the last game? Was it the Leeds draw? So that Leeds draw, that's why was not hugely damaging. That would be an exaggeration. They can't afford that against Burnley because then they may need to be almost perfect in the running. So again, if I was to predict their next 7, like I've done with United, and remember, all subject to change, I'd ignore Wrexham because that's not the league. I think they beat Burnley 2-3. Right now, I'm going away defeat to Arsenal. Draw away at Villa. So now we're on 4. No, they won 5. No, I said lost 4. I'm an idiot. Yeah, 5. I think they beat Newcastle at home, so 8. I think they beat Everton away.
That's 11.
So that's 11. And I then think they draw at home to City. So I'm going to go with 12 there. I think they're very capable of picking up 12 points there, but I think that's what they need to do. Like, if you look at that run, the expectation of having to win them all is crazy. But you see how that's 12 points if they beat Burnley. If they were to draw v Burnley, their results then against Arsenal, their results away at Villa, their results away at Everton and Chelsea at home to City have to then be so much better because you now drop to, on the prediction scale, you've dropped down to 9 points now. And then you have any other slip-ups, suddenly it's 7 points. And if Man United and Arsenal do what people expect them to do in the next few games, suddenly they might find themselves 5-6 points away from a Champions League spot. So yeah, Chelsea's run-in is going to be amazing. Plus, what we haven't factored into this is there's Champions League fixtures to be added in between those games as well. And that's the one thing, again, that changes everything. So when you look at the Champions League knockout phase, for instance, Chelsea are going to get, I mean, this is crazy. Chelsea could, I don't quite know the dates, but Chelsea could get, they're going to get Newcastle or PSG.
Yeah, that Newcastle game is going to be insane.
So they're going to get Newcastle or PSG in the next round. Liverpool are going to either have Galatasaray, Club Brugge, or Atletico Madrid. And they don't want to be getting Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid have always got something for Liverpool. Does that make sense? There's always something in there. So that's the one thing that's an advantage for Man United, is that those two teams and Villa have all got European games that you add in between that, because that's also the scenario. Let's just check when the dates are for those games for a minute. Champions League.
So it will be, the round of 16 will be the 10th and the 11th of March.
So I can't, let me just put the script back up. Let me make my screen bigger so I can see. So 10th and 11th of March. So yeah, as you can see. So what you're going to have, so that the week building up to the Newcastle game, they're going to have a match. And then when's the second leg of those games?
The second leg is going to be the 7th. So round of 16 is the 10th and the 11th and 17th and 18th of March. So the 10th, 11th. Yes. That week,
so
and then
they theoretically, I mean, it's just the way the world is. Chelsea could end up playing Newcastle 3 times in a week.
Not only that, Arsenal and City in March they'd have something like 8 games.
Can you put Liverpool's back up for us for a second, just so I can see who that, because we know that their Champions League games could, again, Chelsea could also have PSG though, and that's where it's mad, because if you've got PSG sandwiched between a Newcastle game, it makes that Newcastle game harder because you can't rest for PSG unless you smash them in the first game.
The FA Cup game.
So it's the Tottenham game. But then that's also, you're in it as well, right? So this is what's crazy. And your potential targets are the same as Liverpool's. So one of you's getting Galatasaray, because I think they'll go through now, and one of you's going to get Atletico or Club Brugge. I think it will be Atletico. So you guys, how weird is that? How weird is it that fixtures always do this? So sandwich between your game with Liverpool is going to be, you're either going to play Atletico twice or probably Galatasaray twice. Now, both of you will probably want Galatasaray because you would argue that's going to be the slightly easier game.
I don't want I'd rather Atletico Madrid.
But what you don't want on that Wednesday is going away to Turkey. You don't want to be going away to Turkey and then traveling back, because you rarely win there anyway. So, but I think these things all play a part. And then what you got to remember is the games afterwards. So then they go away to Brighton. I'm not sure. And then Chelsea go away after the second leg to Everton. Those are the things that could help Man United if we keep a fit squad and we keep ourselves focused, because we get to rest that whole week and sit back and watch it. And you can't rest. And then you've got the next. So the quarterfinals are then the 7th and 8th, the week beginning the 7th and the 14th. Put the fixtures back up for us. Let's check what games are sandwiched between those fixtures as well. That would make a lot of sense to do that.
The 7th and 8th of April.
So if you go back to the fixtures.
So Liverpool, for instance, will have, providing they get through, they would have. So that
Fulham
will be straight after the international break.
Yeah, so they'll have, because it's one of those weird international breaks where the Premier League, we actually have 2 weekends with no Premier League football, but the Champions League returns in the midweek. Does that make sense? But anyway, who do they play the week after this? So skip forward one page for us.
Merseyside, Derby, Palace, and then you.
But that's just it. So if they get through, then this is what's crazy, right? So the quarterfinal, for. Was that the quarterfinal dates we put up, semi-finals?
So the quarterfinals is on the 7th and 8th of April and 14th and 15th of April. And then the semi-finals are 28th and 29th of April.
So, if they are to get through those 2 games, so we don't. So let's just say they get Atletico Madrid. They get through to the quarterfinals. They're either going to... Then they're going to have either Barcelona, Chelsea. If we just go on probability here, PSG are going to qualify. We think Newcastle will qualify. That means Liverpool's quarterfinal will either be Chelsea, Newcastle, Barca, or PSG. Doesn't matter which one of them it is. It's hard, right? Sandwiched in between that is like they've got a Merseyside derby, and then you have, as you said, the next one where their semi-final would be is what dates?
So the dates for the semi-final is 28th and 29th of April and 5th and 6th of May. So your United game, Liverpool's United game, could be slap bang in the middle of a semi-final Champions League.
Exactly. And that's why I think when it comes, I said, I predict those next 7 games. Again, it's a little bit pie in the sky, because at the end of the day, there's so many. This is why I keep saying to people, seasons are over. This team is definitely going to qualify. They're going to go on a run. These things are so hard to call because there's so many new factors to filter in. Does that make sense? There's so many new things to look at and go, well, hang on a minute, who's playing who in the Champions League? Equally, by the way, Liverpool, by the time Liverpool play Man United, they might not be sandwiched between the semi-final. They could be out. So therefore, they go out, it becomes easier for them in some regard because they're not going to have to rotate. So that's one of those things where the teams like Chelsea and Liverpool fighting for top 4, City, and we didn't even do this with City and Arsenal. When it comes to them guys fighting.
Can City get Real Madrid?
Yes.
Oh, mate.
They can get Real Madrid, or they can get Bodo Glimt again. So again, I know they got beat by Bodo Glimt, but they might fancy that as an example. But they could get Real Madrid, and then the games after that are probably, if they get Real Madrid, whoever they get, their quarterfinal is probably going to be Arsenal or Bayern Munich. So again, I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, but Arsenal could get the slightly easier option. They could get, for instance,
they've got a home tie as well, haven't they, Arsenal?
Yeah, Arsenal could get Bayer Leverkusen and then get a quarterfinal against Sporting Lisbon, theoretically, right? So where for City, I don't think it's as easy as that, because they can't get Sporting Lisbon. If you look at the draw, they're either going to get, if they get through the next round, they're either going to get most likely Bayern Munich or Arsenal. That's the higher probability. So again, I'm not saying this means they won't win the Premier League, but that's a different this is why I feel like making all these predictions now, season's over, they're definitely making top four. They're definitely missing out. I've even changed my own mind during this show. It's so hard to call right now. I think it's until we see those fixtures lined out in front. And I don't know if they do this anymore, but I used to like the quarterfinal draw for the Champions League because they used to do like the last 16, but they do all 3 draws in one. So you knew who you were going to get if you got through. So you could kind of map your course. I think it's important to do that so teams can start planning ahead, but it's going to be an amazing end to the season. It's going to be amazing.
I've just realised one thing we haven't spoken about either as well, just to finish on this, is the FA Cup dates. So the quarter final would be on the 4th of April, right? So Arsenal and City and Liverpool could have, straight off the international break, could have the quarterfinals. Could have the quarterfinal of the FA Cup on the 4th, the quarterfinals of the Champions League on the 7th and 8th, Premier League on the 10th and 11th, and Champions League again on the 14th and 15th. Arsenal, Liverpool, and City, and potentially Chelsea, if they were to get through, could end up having 8 games again in April.
And this is exactly my point around making crazy, bold predict. You could be right. You could guess right that Arsenal win nothing. You can guess right that Liverpool go out in the next round of everything and don't make top 4. You can guess right, but everybody's guessing. There is an element of like evidence to it around how they've been playing. But I feel that everyone's what I'm open to, and I'd like to hear this in the comments, see this in the comments, not hear it, see it, is are people's minds open to being changed? The only team's trajectory that doesn't change at all, barring injuries, because that affects everybody, is Man United's. Because we're the only ones who know exactly when their games are, how to prep, how to rotate, when to rest. Everybody else, the more they win in the FA Cup and the Champions League, the more games that come in, normally more intense, normally harder games. You've got that period in April where theoretically you could see City and Arsenal in FA Cup semi-finals, Champions League semi-finals, league clashes all against one another, right? You know, you've got Chelsea and Liverpool that could end up doing that with one another quite a bit. And did Chelsea and Liverpool play each other again in the league at some point this season? Because I don't feel like they've played each other twice yet, but they could have done, and I've forgotten about it.
Mm. Yeah, I'm just hang on. So yeah, they haven't played each other twice yet.
No, I didn't think so. So they play each other on the 9th of May. So again, that's not there. I'm not sure of the dates of everything again, but that is pretty close again to semi-finals of at least the FA Cup and maybe even the Champions League.
So the semi-final the final of the FA Cup is on the 16th, and the semi-final of the Champions League is on the 5th and 6th of May.
So there we go. So if they could theoretically see each other in the quarterfinals, and then a few weeks later they're playing each other again. There's so many factors that go into this, and then you have probability. And yes, there's always who's the favourite for each game. But I've always felt this way, that if, for instance, you play a team 3 or 4 times in a short space of time, and you're both good teams, the likelihood of one of those teams losing all those matches, I find that really hard to predict, because look how good Pep's peak teams were. And there were some seasons where Man United played them 3 or 4 times because of FA Cup or Carabao Cup clashes. They didn't beat us in every game. Last year was a weird one where Spurs actually beat us 4. That's why the final shocked me the most. Because we played you 4 times last year, and the probability of losing all 4 games is so bloody low. And we did. And I think we did. And that was the bit that really annoyed me, because that's actually a much rarer occurrence. So yeah, I'm excited about this. I know we just did points about 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago for all the teams. That's just how I feel now. But I almost want to retract what I've said to a certain degree and say, I'm just going to take this game by game, because so much can change in the next 4 to 5 weeks for every single one of these teams. And that's the beauty and the excitement. The only element I'm annoyed about is the fucking international break. I would just like the run-in to kind of start now. And it's just like, because again, most of these teams, if these guys all get to semis and finals of Champions Leagues and FA Cups, these guys are going to be playing barring the international break, these guys are all basically playing 2 games a week, every week for the rest of the year. Now, some of them might rise up and win nearly every game, win multiple trophies. City could do that. Liverpool could do it. Chelsea could do it. But the likelihood that the history tells you they're all going to slip up a little bit. Now, maybe their slips come in the cups and the Europe and the league, they're fine. Maybe it's the other way around. Then actually, a couple of games you expect them to win because they're the better team, they have to rotate for. We saw what happened to Chelsea when they rotated against West Ham. They might have some games coming up where they go, oh, can we afford? Do we want to play our best team for this game when we've got a massive tie against Barcelona or PSG or Liverpool or Arsenal in a semi? Because this is what you also might find. We could see like a Chelsea Arsenal semi-final. On a real level. It's loads of. Sorry, go on.
I think there's a way as well that we could potentially get if Tottenham were to get past Galatasaray or Juventus, I think there's a way where we can get Chelsea or Barcelona.
Yeah, you can. So you can get. Yeah. It all depends on the side of the draw. So if you put that bracket back up on the screen from FootMob, so it gives you quite a good indicator already. Although I think I should already do the draw. We should already know. But if you look at that again, so for instance, Chelsea will either get you if Chelsea win their game, they will either play you or Spurs in the quarterfinal. That's a guarantee. Whichever side the draw they're on, the quarterfinal is absolutely going to be against one of you two. If they get through, does that make sense? If you guys win, so if Spurs get Galatasaray and Liverpool get Atletico Madrid, and you both win, and Chelsea win their last 16 game, they're guaranteed to be against one of you. Equally, we just live in a world where the English teams are winning here, just for the sake of argument. If you get to the quarters, you could also get Arsenal. Chelsea could Chelsea again. Both you guys could either it depends what side of the draw you're on. You could also both get Arsenal in the semi-finals as well.
Yeah, I listen. Tottenham, Chelsea.
No, you can only get them in. No, you can only get them in the semi-finals. I'm an idiot. No, you could. Yeah, you can. You and Chelsea could get Arsenal in the semi-finals or finals if you win all your games. Yeah, that's right. I'm an idiot. Sorry. Yeah, semi-finals and finals.
Man, it's gonna be a lot to get into. It's gonna be.
Because there's 6 English teams that are in it. As you say, you could literally. I'm looking at it again now, right? So Tottenham. If we use Tottenham as an example, or we use Chelsea because they're in the top 4. Right? Chelsea could get Barcelona it's PSG in their next game. Then they might have to play Tottenham. Right? Then their semi-final might be against Arsenal. Do you know what this brings me back to? This is why when people talk about the peak era of the Premier League, it takes me back to about 2004 through to about 2010, where we got so many classic English ties in the Champions League.
Remember the Chelsea-Liverpool game where Lampard scored that cross?
Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, Liverpool. There was a goal I remember from the Arsenal-Liverpool game where I think Theo Walcott ran the length of the pitch and scored. And it felt like only like a minute later, Liverpool went back down the other end and scored. And I was watching that game at my friend's house. It was 3-story high, like Victorian terraced house. He nearly fell out those old-fashioned houses in East London, like the windows are all single pane. He jumped at the window to people jump up and do chest pumps. He did it to the window. He nearly went through the fucking thing. It was one of these moments where we were all sort of like, because I used to love watching football back then, because as much as you didn't want rivals winning, we just kind of got into the vibe of the room. Do you know what I mean? Like we all just, whoever we're going to wind up Techley today. Techley's a big Liverpool fan, but it was our mate Martin, who's our mate Kevin, who's a big Arsenal fan. We just winding him up the whole time. And when they scored that goal, they thought they're back in it. And then we all sort of joined in with bantering him when that goal went in. But Techley kind of jumped and smashed his chest into the window frame, nearly went through he would have died as well. He would have fucking died. It was a great night. That's why I always remember that one more than anything. But I want those nights again. No one jumping through windows or anything. But I want those nights where you've got, wouldn't it be amazing? Because it theoretically could also happen where you could have, it would be dreamland for the Premier League, but you theoretically could have all English semi-finals. Yeah, you should make an all English final.
You could have Arsenal, City, Chelsea, and Liverpool.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine a world where you've got Arsenal, Chelsea semi-final, City, Liverpool semi-final? Oh, but imagine this even more so. Right, because imagine they are on opposite sides. Imagine you get people have spoke about like Arsenal and City playing each other like quite a lot. If they get each other in the quarters or the semis or whatever. What if it's the other way? What if they get each other in the final of the Champions League. So after whatever happens in the season, they play each other right at the end, the last game of the domestic season for everybody. I mean, again, I'll be there for it. From a spectacle point of view. Well. Sorry?
I reckon they'll both get each other in the FA Cup.
Oh, can you imagine? It nearly happened with Chelsea and Man United in 08. There was a point where it looked like they might, it was going, hang on a minute, they're going to challenge each other for the league. They got to the Champions League final together. But there was also a point where they thought they could both make the FA Cup final. And we both actually ended up going out. And I remember there was a big article in the paper about how there was a game between the two of us quite close to the end of the season, the Champions League final. And because the Champions League final, you'd know your route. So we knew we couldn't get each other to the final. And they were saying maybe they'd get, I think we were both in the quarters, maybe the semis of maybe the quarters of the FA Cup. And there was this train of thought of, can you imagine if they end up playing each other in the league with 3 or 4 games to go, FA Cup final, Champions League final? You could see something like that this year in the Premier League between City and Arsenal. And again, from a spectacle, my team ain't in it, so it doesn't matter to me. I'm there for it. I would love an ending to a season where you've got, and it could be the other way around. You could see that Chelsea Arsenal FA Cup final and Champions League final. Liverpool Arsenal Liverpool Chelsea Champions League final. It'd be so good for the English teams to totally dominate and have all those massive games at the end of the season. For us as content creators as well, it's been so much more to talk about, and I can't deny it. Like, that'd be wicked.
I just want the drama. I'm here for the drama, mate. But look, we are gonna wrap up. What sort of content other than the match reactions have you got coming out over the weekend?
Predominantly match reactions, mate. There'll be some sort of fan channel review show, Killing the Game on Sunday morning, most likely. A bit of stuff on Terry Fluer's TV as well. I've got some bits and pieces about Vinicius Jr., some transfer stories, and I'll put a North London preview out on there as well. So there's some bits and pieces, but predominantly it's going to be match reactions over Saturday and Sunday. Yeah,
I'm doing a watch on Sunday as well, bringing that back. So hopefully I'll be potentially featuring there for the right reasons. Look, we are going to wrap up. Make sure you drop a like, hit the subscribe buttons, both channels, and we will see you all soon. We are out.